I had these limitations on myself that I can't do it. There's no way I can accomplish what so-and-so did. But then when you hear the stories, most of these people are just action takers. They're not the smartest people in the world. They just take massive action. And that's what 10X is about, right? Take massive action. So it just gave me like confirmation that if I just put one foot in front of the other, I'll get there and stop being a bitch and just do it. I mean, that's Grant Cardone, like stop being a little bitch, right? And he's right, like 100%. Quit making excuses for yourself. And that's when I started to realize like the only person that was really holding myself back was myself.
Hey, welcome back to the Pursuit of Property podcast. Cade and I are joined today with our friend, colleague, Edgar Franco, up and coming, as he likes to call it, investor, but also a successful mortgage lender in the business, along with lots of deals under his belt. So, Edgar, thanks for joining us.
Guys, thank you so much. I'm humbled and honored to be here. I asked you, hey, can I come check out your pod? I just want to see your setup. It's like, no, jump on the episode. I'm like, bro, hold on. I don't think I've earned my stripes yet, but... No, thank you guys so much for having me. I've been following you guys' show for quite some time now. And like I was telling you earlier, I wish I knew which episode I jumped on, but I love the stuff you guys are putting out. So thanks, man.
Dude, absolutely. Of course. I actually think, and I could be wrong, I think today is episode 150. Oh, we're milestone episode today, bro.
Dang.
Episode 150. Let's go.
150, baby.
There it is.
That's it, bro.
Let's go.
It's funny that you wanted to be introduced as an up-and-coming investor. You didn't feel like you were worth coming on the pod right now. You kept using the term like you wanted to get more, what was it, stars and stripes? Something like that. You kept saying like you wanted to get more experience.
Credibility, like,
Dude, the whole podcast is about just sharing people. You've got a lot of knowledge to share on the investing side. You also have a ton of experience on the lending side. I think it just made sense for you to come on and talk about your entire experience.
For sure. Yeah.
Because you're a good example of somebody who's not been tied down to just one facet of the business.
Yeah, no. Starting this endeavor has been eye-opening for me. At first, like, I thought because I had my first deal just kind of fall in my lap. My buddy got it. He let me JV with him. And it was like my first creative deal ever. I didn't even know what I was doing, to be honest. I was like, oh, I'm sure if I pay you what you're looking for and I take over your mortgage, it's fine. But from there, I got that, like, the itch, I always knew I was going to get into it. I just didn't know when. But when I had that first deal happen, from there, it was just like, I think I can do it. And I made it seem like it was going to be easier than what it actually was. And that's when I joined Jason's program. And I realized, like, dude, this is a whole completely foreign, brand new, it's different. It's so different from mortgage lending where you have customers coming to you saying, can you help me? Versus we're going to sellers like, let me help you. And it's like two different conversations.
Yeah. Well, dude, I want to get into that first deal breakdown. But before we get there, rewinding even just a little bit, what's your background? Have you always been a mortgage lender? Did you go to school? Like, what's your background and what led you into real estate?
Yeah, so I'll give you the quick version because it's a long story. But when I was 19 years old, I went to Fresno City and I took a real estate course. I passed. I never pursued it because I felt like I looked too young. Who's going to sell a house or buy a house with this guy who doesn't know how to tuck his shirt in? And then I got to the point where it's like, all right, cool. I don't know if you guys saw that, but none of our shirts are tucked in. But then I realized, like, okay, whatever, I'll just get a job. And I started working for a company called Pelco. And I was there for about 2 years in the production line. And I was then pursuing something in like technology, like an IT guy. Got laid off. That was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. That was like 2008. Everything was changing in the world. I didn't even know what was going on, though. I just got laid off and I realized I need a secure paycheck. So I'm going to go work part-time. And then from there, I realized I need to go somewhere where I know there's always going to be a need for a position. So I became an EMT, then transitioned over to a paramedic. I did that for about 5 years. And that's when I bought my first house in 2014. And I started thinking about real estate again. Prior to me buying a house, I made my wife get her license. Because I was like, hey, get your license, you'll get a commission, we'll use that commission, furnish the house. If you want to keep doing real estate, go for it. If not, whatever, we got free furniture.
Let's go.
So the plan worked out, right? We got our house. We didn't know what I was doing. I waived all my contingencies. I was like, yeah, let's just get this house. I'll fix this myself. Bad idea. Always get your inspections. But, that's how I started to realize, like, I can actually do this. I thought maybe I want to do real estate sales. Why not just get in mortgage lending? Because I did all the research. I taught myself, FHA, conventional, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then from there, it was from 2014 up until now. I got licensed, started working little by little. And then once I felt like it was the right time to quit my job, because I knew at that point, like your income for the most part, W-2 in the medical field, starting, I would say paramedics are like entry level for the most part. Like your income's capped. And at that point, I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to live paycheck to paycheck. I don't even have kids yet, but I'm not going to be able to afford a lifestyle where everyone's happy. Or if I did want to afford that lifestyle, I was going to have to work like crazy amount of hours. So that's when I just made the decision. I'm quitting. That was in, I don't know, when that was like 2016, 2017, around there. And then I was doing pretty good, part-time loan officer. I was living well below my means. Wife was doing okay. Real estate transactions, we're doing all right. And then fast forward 2019, found out I was going to have a baby. And I was like, dude, I ain't doing shit. I need to step it up even more because like kids, you don't know what to expect. It could be expensive, whatever. But again, that's when it really hit me. Like I need to really ramp up my production, get better at sales, take this seriously. And not more so work as a loan officer, but work as a business owner. So I went to my first business conference, 10X Growth Con, in 2019 in Miami, and that's when my life changed. Like for real, like I started to see heavy hitters, talk to them, meet them, shake their hands. I'm like, these guys are different. How are they so different? Because my circle, I love my friends, I love my family, but there was no one to that level in like within reach to me. So then that's when I was just looking for more relationships like that. And then fast forward to Jason's coaching program. Like, I want to become a real estate investor. How do I do it? I've seen these guys do it. And then sure enough, Jason says, hey, I'm doing a coaching program. My wife just said, do it. I didn't even have to ask her. She told me, I called him. He's going to call you. We booked a call. I joined. And then now, and that was in, I think May of last year when he started the program. Getting to meet all you guys, dude. You guys all inspire me. And I was thinking about this about you guys. Like, you guys are younger. I'm older. I'm 36 years old. And I look up to you guys. Like, I don't see an age. I see experience and, what you guys are doing. And, I call you a lot on certain potential leads, transactions or whatever. And you guys just share so much. And I'm like, man, I need to get closer to these guys. So where I'm at now, I feel like I've gone in, I put my toes in the water. I didn't dive in because I didn't want to neglect the mortgage business. So I told myself, I'm going to make this work. I just have to be patient because I like to see a parabolic growth. It's going to start off slow and then we're going to hit that rocket ship eventually. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's my story, how I got into real estate investing. And we can, we'll uncover more as far as other things, but yeah, that's the story.
Dude, there's so much to unpack there, man.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I feel like too, a lot of healthcare workers making the transition into real estate, which is gnarly. Especially, you said you did that 4 or 5 years before transitioning into mortgage lending. And dude, never heard this before. Freaking crazy smart. Telling your wife to get her license so you can pay to furnish the house you guys got in. It sounds like after she got her license and you guys got into your first home, she stayed in real estate sales.
She did.
She loved it and has stuck around. That's freaking awesome.
She did. Man. She's been doing great. Chan, shout out, love you, baby. But she always had it in her too. And she's a great people person. And in sales, if you have that, everything else will come. So her success, really, it's all her. I got to give her a lot of credit for that. So she stuck with it. She at some point was going to pursue the medical stuff too, but she's like, nah, I like houses. I like real estate.
I love it, dude.
And you guys made the switch over. I mean, at what point was your family's entire income based on real estate?
Right around 2017, 2018.
Was it scary to make that decision?
I was dumb. First of all, I wasn't smart with money. It was cool. I'll get those commission checks and those in 2 weeks it'd be gone.
On what?
Just eating out all the time. Just
not a Mercedes lease.
I didn't get that far, but I was just thinking it was going to last forever. And then 2018 happened where the market shifted. Rates went up for the first time in a long time and it slowed the market down, dipped into my savings. You know, and that's when like things started to get a little scary for the first time. That was like 2018 for me was like the first scary moment I've ever had in real estate.
And that's when I joined, and it was definitely a little strange.
Yeah, dude, it's funny because I also thought about this on the way here. I first saw you showing a house. It was one of Chan's listings, and it was in Madera. It was a crown home. You probably won't remember, but that was the first time I saw you. I was like, who is this guy? Like this hot shot coming over, you know, like looking all young and smart, you know? And then I start hearing him talk. I'm like, actually, this guy sounds really like a professional. And then I low key kept tabs on you. I want to see how far this guy goes. Like I was actually rooting for you. And
He's all drop out.
And I think I was tired because we did like an open house or whatever. And I was like chauffeuring her. I'm like, oh, I just want to go home. But no, you guys ended up buying the house, but your buyers. But
We did?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember the transaction going, it was a crown home out in Madera. It's been a while.
Dude, we'll have to figure out which house this was. That's hilarious.
Yeah. That's funny. And I was like, man, Scott, I wish I can tell him this story. Well, there you go.
Well, there you go.
Dude, I'm curious too. You mentioned going to your first conference, first mastermind, whatever you want to call it. 10X is very flashy, bro.
Yeah.
Like very, very flashy. I'm curious because you shared like that was the tipping point for you. Was it the connections? Was it the conference itself? Like, I'm curious, what did you yourself putting you in that position? What did that do for you? Was it the networking, the connections? Like, how did that go?
I would say is just hearing other people's stories and understanding that anything is possible. You know, I had these limitations on myself that I can't do it. There's no way I can accomplish what so-and-so did. But then when you hear the stories, most of these people are just action takers. They're not the smartest people in the world. They just take massive action. And that's what 10X is about, right? Take massive action. So it just gave me like confirmation that if I just put one foot in front of the other, I'll get there. And stop being a bitch and just do it. I mean, that's Grant Cardone, like stop being a little bitch, right? And he's right, like 100%. Quit making excuses for yourself. And that's when I started to realize like the only person that was really holding myself back was myself. You know, I heard great speakers and they always pivoted to that, like, or like their turning point was my back was against the wall. And, you know, that was in 2019. Like I said earlier, 2018 was my scariest year. I was like, what am I going to do to change? You know, like it starts with me. Like if I want more income, it starts here. And that's the exposure that I got. That's ultimately what it was, is just seeing what's possible.
What did you have to do to change?
Cut out hanging out at the bars, you know, poker nights, things that I enjoy doing, but I knew I had to change. Waking up hungover, like just wasn't contributing to what I wanted. Not reading enough books, not educating myself in getting better at sales and things like that. Just what seems to be simple or whatever, what was really hard was just cutting out those bad habits. So that's really what changed my life. You know, I was more worried about what my friends and family would think of me when I wasn't going to be showing up to the parties, to the barbecues and stuff like that. But then I started to really fast forward and like, man, if I'm like 80 or 90 years old, am I going to think about like, damn it, I should have went to Johnny's barbecue. I don't care. I start to think like that. And that's really, my whole mindset changed.
Yeah.
Poor Johnny. I'm sure his barbecue was great anyway.
Cade was there. So, I mean, you guys go through this period. Obviously, then you hit COVID. When did this first deal come into your lap?
Yeah, my friend got licensed, Dustin Keeney, good guy. He just posted, I'm a realtor now. And somebody reached out to him like, hey, I need to sell my house. And he called me. I did a walkthrough. Chan went with him to kind of coach him on what to look for, what to ask. And the seller kept saying, I just need $30,000 and I'm good. Like, that's all I want to make and whatever. And my friend called me and he was like, hey dude, like I'm thinking that I should probably do something different. I'm like, what are you talking about? Just list it. And he was like, no, I think I could probably flip this. And I'm like, well, tell me more about it. And I got all the details. I'm like, looked at comps. I'm like, yeah, bro, like I think you can do something. He's like, well, do you want to do it with me? And I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that, man. Cause I was like, I've never done it before. And then eventually I talked to the seller. I went on my first seller appointment and it was very casual. It was too casual. Like there is no like nervousness. We're talking about football, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay, so where do I sign? He was telling me he was ready to sign. So like what I pitched to him was like, well, listen, you're looking to get 230, you're going to net 30, but how about we do this? You want to stay in the house for 3 months. That's what he asked. Can I stay in the property? I was like, why don't I just give you a check for $30,000 and you get to stay in the house for 3 months? And, you know, we worked out a deal. And that was my first like sub 2 deal, but I didn't do it right. You know, I just got title transferred over to my name or our LLC. And
so you just gave him a check for $30,000. What was that, through title, or was that like just direct?
Bank, yes.
Oh my God,
bro, it's crazy.
Please explain this.
So first, yeah. So like before he sold the house, he's like, I need to buy another house in a different state. I was like, let me just make sure you can qualify for a loan. So I took a loan application, good credit, good everything. This guy was very like polished when it came to like his stuff like that. So nothing really, I didn't see any red flags. So that's why I never really thought to like protect myself doing it the right way. So it's funny. It's stupid when I look back at it. But you know, we did the deal. And then once we opened escrow with the end buyer, that's when title was like, you didn't like clear title at all. Like, you got to have him to sign all these things now. And he was long gone in a different state, but he signed everything. Luckily, title was clear and we're okay.
What was it like getting through that? And then like title just being like, dude, you did all of this wrong. Was there like a sense of like, holy shit, I made it? Or were you completely unaware of how lucky you were to get through that?
No, I knew at some point I was like, dude, I think I should be making sure this guy's not like doing a cash out refi right now, or just other things like that, you know, that could fly under the radar. And when it got to that point where, you know, I built a really good relationship with him. I knew what moves he was making. He was telling me, and that's why I felt like it's okay, but let's just see. This would be one of the most expensive lessons I learned if it turns south. But fortunately for us, like once we cleared title and things were solid, that's when I was like, oh, okay, I need a coach. I need to figure out how to do this the right way. And that's like right when Jason posted, you know, he was doing the coaching program.
So you paid him 30 grand up front.
Up front.
He stays in the property for 3 months. Is he continuing to make his mortgage payment, or are you?
I took over his payments. It was $1,200 a month. The way I've justified it is like, I'm not getting a hard money loan. You know, I'll put this down as my holding cost.
Yeah.
So the numbers made sense.
Well, and if you had bought it, you said you'd have to pay $230.
It came out to like $237 after holding expenses and whatnot.
Well, if you were to go get a private money loan or hard money loan, it was $230,000.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that your payment would have been $1,900, right? So
versus 12.
You're saving $700 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And he moves out at the end of month 3, and you said you guys turn around. It wasn't, I guess, technically an assignment because you were on title, but you immediately turned around and sold it to somebody else. Did you go in and do any work? Like, what did the sale of that deal look like?
Yeah, so we probably spent about $33,000 remodeling the entire property. Okay. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,300 square foot home in a 93722 area. So I knew it was a hot property. Like,
nice.
It needed a lot of work. I mean, the guy, the main reason why he didn't want to list it on the property, he didn't want to see people how he was living, you know, like
embarrassment,
cockroaches, you know. And I told him, dude, don't worry about it. Like, I'm not judging you. Well, whatever. So that was his reasoning behind it. I give them like 6 or 7 times to back out because I felt like it being my first deal. I'm like, are you sure, dude? Like, you can move out and probably sell it for more. He's like, no, I don't want to do that. We ended up selling it for $355,000. And, you know, so that's when between me and my buddy, like we made a pretty good deal on that, or a good profit. So, and here's a cool thing. The person who bought it was a client of ours through our mortgage company. So like, I like dipped in that thing a few times, if you know what I mean. So like,
I don't know if that's how I would have phrased it about a client.
You know what I mean.
Dude, that's ridiculous. You sold it for $355. You're all in the project somewhere in the ballpark of $250.
So I put about 30, we put it 32, 33.
$275.
Roughly, yeah.
Wow.
Fantastic deal, bro.
For the first deal.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, I can do this all the time. Like this is how all these deals work out, right? And no, that's not how they all work out, but that was a good like first one.
So you get that one done. It sounds like it was a little bit of a lucky situation, which that seems to be common on first deals. What did you do to like learn how to do it the right way the next time?
That's where Jason, taught me a lot. And with Jason, the awesome thing about his program is like he says this himself, like I'm going to pull the curtain back and show you the operations, and you're going to learn how to talk to sellers and the type of exit strategies there are. So that's when I started to focus on exit strategies. And I realized like, well, I don't think I'm cut out to be a wholesaler because I want to flip the properties. Because my vision going into this was I literally want to become like the builder, their playbook. They own the product, they own the mortgage company, they usually own the title company as well. They basically control the entire transaction. And that's what my thought process was. Well, if I find my property that I'm going to flip, I can market it with my wife as the agent. And then if we happen to do an open house and get the buyer, there's another revenue stream for the mortgage company. And that way I don't have to focus on volume so much. It's more so like cherry picking, looking for the quality projects, because at the end of the day, I'm just trying to, buy back my time and find ways to make more money without working so much more in the day-to-day operations.
Right.
So with Jason, he kind of showed me, all right, well, you too, Scott, like you guys show how to run numbers correctly, how to walk properties, how to talk to sellers. And once I got that down with Jason, understanding the whole process, the selling process, then I really focused on exit strategies. And that's where what I did was sub 2, essentially, right? And I figured, well, there's more sub 2 opportunities out there. I just need to learn how to pitch it. And that's when I think middle of summer last year, I learned about Pace Morby and all his stuff. And I joined his coaching stuff too, just to learn sub 2, nothing else. And that's when I came across Novations through his program, but they're not teaching Novations as much as they are teaching sub 2. So then that's when I found another guy, which I'm sure you guys know, Rich Wonders, who teaches Novations. So I jumped on with him. I'm like, all right, well, I still need more information. And then that's when I got with Ryan Pineda and his team, and they're going heavy Novations right now. So I've been getting a lot of my information with them. So learning the process, the operations, how to build, how to scale with Jason, and then learning all the exit strategies with these other guys, I put myself in a position now where I can walk a property. And I've always wanted to get in a position where I don't let any deal slip through the cracks. So when I do walk a property, I have an idea of what to offer them. But if I know if it's going to pivot towards an ovation or a listing, I feel like I covered all my bases. We want cash offers first, get a deeper discount. But if it doesn't work out, here's all your other options. So that's kind of where, as far as like my first deal, learning what I did wrong to where I'm at now, learning how to do almost everything. Like I feel like I'm in such a good spot where, I feel like my closing ratio is going to increase by like 20 to 30% just because of that.
A novation, break it down for us in layman's terms. How does a novation work?
So most people are familiar with wholesaling, where your end buyer is a cash buyer. You're assigning the deal to them. They pay your assignment fee. A novation is essentially the same concept, except your end buyer is going to be a retail buyer, but your fee comes from the seller. It's the only way Fannie Mae or these regulatory, conventional guidelines or whatever, they won't finance a finder's fee or an assignment fee. They won't do the deal. But if it's a novation, they don't question it because it's an itemized seller fee, essentially. So it's almost like a real estate commission, right? So that's really it. You're going in with the intention of getting a contract signed by the seller and letting them know, like, hey, you don't care who buys this house. I'm going to find you a buyer who's going to pay. You're going to get your what you're looking to get. And then from there, you're essentially listing the property on their behalf and dealing with all the negotiations. You don't even come back to them to find out, hey, they want credits for closing. Do you want to agree to that? As long as we make money on the deal, we're going to do whatever the buyers want to do for the most part, right? To make the deal work. So that's like the quick and dirty way of explaining the novation process.
It sounds kind of like a net listing agreement. Is that fair to say? A net listing agreement, to my understanding, would be like, I contact Edgar. I say, Edgar, I'll list your house for $500,000, or like, I'll make you $500,000. Then anything above 500 is my commission. Is that kind of what a novation is?
100%. Yeah, exactly. So, I don't use the big words with the clients. I just say agreement, but that's essentially what it is. It's like a net listing. I just learned about net listings prior to learning about novations, and I just felt like there was obstacles in the way that could, with your brokerage or the state or whatever, the DRE, that may complicate things down the road.
So the contract you're signing with the seller, you're never taking ownership of the property. Is that right?
Correct. But
go ahead. Yeah. No, I was going to ask. So the agreement between you and the seller is essentially saying, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you're giving me the right to come in and invest money into fixing up the home, the renovations, blah, blah, blah. And you're also giving me the right to turn around and sell your home as long as you get X price.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So there is a form called a notice of interest where it's like, that's your security blanket right there. Because now at that point, you could essentially put like a mechanic's lien on the property. They back out. And then we also do like an attorney in fact, where we're now selling seller documents. I only use that if it's necessary, like where maybe the person's out of state, maybe they're older. I'll tell them, you know what, I'm going to save you the headaches. You're just going to wait to get that paycheck, sign this attorney in fact. You give me all rights to sign all your seller documents. Usually they're pretty cool with it. But if I can avoid that and just let the seller sign their own thing, and I'm fully transparent of what's going on, they don't question it. They just sign. But the notice of interest, that's how we secure ourselves. And right now, what I'm doing with most novations that come across the table is like, I'm not really putting too much money into them now, unless I know, I can trust this person that's not going to back out on the deal. Usually it's like a tired landlord or someone that I just build enough rapport that I just trust them. The thing that I'm doing, what I'm pitching now is seller finance. Like, hey, you want 130, I'm giving you 118 cash. But if you want to do 130, I'll give you $12,000 now. I'll pay you the 118 later with interest. That way, if I do put in like all this money, I at least own the property now. And if something changes, I'm protected essentially, So that's something that I've also started to learn is like that extra layer of protection. It's way more important than the profit that you're going to be making.
To have the extra layer of you being the owner.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're doing a creative one right now where we could have possibly done a novation, but we went with like a creative financing, and we are on title. And I think it's a lot easier when the seller kind of has that done deal.
Yeah.
Like they no longer have their name on title. I was going to ask you, have you had a seller try to back out, or have you had any of those instances yet?
I have two that they didn't back out, but I converted them to something different. They started as novations. One ended up turning into a sub 2, which I'm taking ownership now. I just decided to keep it. The other one, we were doing a novation, but the seller and I came to an agreement that the rehab was going to take too long. So we just paid them up front, a specific amount. It was like a seller finance transaction, and we just closed on that flip last week. But so far a seller hasn't done it, but circumstances did change. I guess that one would classify as something that changed, but it was more so I need my money now, or I need X amount of money up front. I can't wait, 4 more weeks. And then that's when I just transitioned to a seller finance deal.
You mentioned you said you kept one?
Yeah.
Like in your guys' portfolio?
Yeah. So
nice.
Yeah, dude, it was killer deal. 2.875. Dude's not living in the country. He owns a property in Oakhurst, which is like a nice Airbnb location. And I got him through a PPL service, Lead Zolo, and he was just looking to get $50,000. I'm like, bro, are you sure? Because your house could probably sell for like $400,000. There's tenants in the property. And he's like, I just need $50,000. So I ran the numbers. I'm like, so we're looking at 320 then. He's like, make it 325. And I was like, well, how about this? And I structured, how about if I do 30K down, I just take over your note and I'll seller finance the remaining amount with a balloon payment of like 7 years. And it's like, done. Like, I just need to start construction in my little Mexican house over there. Or he was in Mexico. He's like, I just need like $20,000 to finish construction and I'm good. Like, I'm living happy over here. The seller finance is going to give me monthly income that goes a long way over here where I'm at. And I was like, man, I just wish every seller was like this. So I ended up keeping it just because cost segregation. Like, I'm learning a lot about taxes. Are you guys familiar with cost segregation?
Yeah.
Right. So blew my mind when I learned about it. And at this point, it's like, if I can get my hands on enough properties to write off my taxes, I'm going to do it by any means necessary, because, you know, if I have to stroke a check to the IRS, I'm stroking something else too. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be stroking anything.
It's 2 for 2. There it is.
There you go.
Bro.
You said no filter.
No filter, bro. That is hilarious. So, Edgar, what would you say, right? Because you're now in a position, you've been in the coaching program, it sounds like maybe almost a year and a half, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're learning all of these new exit strategies, tools in your tool belt, to where you go on an appointment, there's your closing ratio. There's going to be a lot of different ways you can make the deal work. Is your primary goal now putting in reps and trying to do more fix and flips where, like you were saying, you guys can control kind of multiple aspects of the transaction? Is it adding more doors? Like, what's kind of your clear vision and goal for, you know, the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah. I think about this all the time, because as much as I want to hold rentals, it doesn't make sense if I'm not offsetting any taxes. So more so, I'm trying to increase my active income as much as I can. And based off the active income that I'm creating, that's going to determine how many properties I need, because everybody wants to own 100 rentals or 200 rentals or 3, whatever, right? I want to own my money and not give it away. So that's basically my game plan at this time. It's like, yeah, I'm aiming for more doors, more properties, but I'm more so focusing on how do I increase my active income, and then what do I got to do to offset it as much as I can. So that's basically my game plan right now.
Setting the goal, increasing your active income, and then as a result, letting that, you know, kind of lagging indicator of adding the more doors to offset your lifestyle and whatever income that you and your family want to be at.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, what I've learned through talking to a lot of people is just keep KPIs. I'm going to track my numbers, and if I see a specific number, you know, if I have to sell a property, I'll have it ready to sell, you know, but more so I'm just trying to focus on increasing my active income, because rentals right now, I'll be honest, as much as I want them, I need more active income first to justify rentals, because cash flow is great, but tax write-offs are better only if you're making the money, you know?
Yeah, a huge part of owning assets is the ability to keep your active income. So you kind of need to have, you have to have the actual money to write off, right? To save. Right. You can't write off money that you aren't making, which I think a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's that. Yeah. So that's the goal, and pretty excited about it, because now knowing what my target is, it's not necessarily going after, you know, 10 single family homes. I'm looking for a property that I can buy for, you know, 500,000, because the lot is probably worth like 115, 120, and then the rest is what I can use cost segregation against, you know? So then I'm looking for multifamily. I'm looking for sellers who are older than 60 that probably have a portfolio of like 10 plus properties and that manage their own rentals, because now I'm pitching to them seller finance. You know, if I can give you 30 grand right now, you're not having to pay back all the depreciation that because if you sell it for cash, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, you're going to pay back everything you've written off for the last 27 years and capital gains. You know, so what are you really walking away with? If we structure this deal, you're going to have money in your pocket and money coming in every month for probably longer than you live. And you can pass that down to your kids. And like that, I haven't heard that. I'm like, well, now you have. So, you know, make a decision, and I'll help you make that decision. And have a few leads like that.
Do you have a lot of older people push back about the length of time for your carryback?
Not yet.
Really?
Not yet. Yeah. I would say, though, I haven't spoken to enough people to expose myself to that conversation yet. But so far, I would say there's probably like 6 or 7 that I've talked to that are right there. They like the idea. They like the fact that they don't have to drive from the Bay Area to check on their properties anymore, you know? So I'm looking for those people right now to pitch that.
Where are you at in terms of, obviously you're wanting to get your active income up. Are you wanting your mortgage company and your mortgage business to supplement that? Are you wanting the investment side to overtake that and kind of step away from the mortgage business? Ideally, what would be your ideal scenario?
Yeah, what you just said is exactly what I'm thinking, because, you know, there's some great loan officers branch managers, top producers out there that their whole business is mortgage, and you can see them scale that. But when I compare both vehicles together and you say, give me 5 years in mortgage and give me 5 years in real estate investing is going to unlock way more doors than going all in mortgage. And that's the way I look at things. It's like my time on this earth is limited. So I'm not going to spend too much time building something over here where I can spend less time over here building the same thing faster.
Dude, that's freaking awesome. And how does your wife feel about being an agent? Is she committed and wanting to stay in the agent space? How involved is she? Obviously can be the listing agent and stuff like that on your guys' projects. How involved is she in wanting to maybe pull away from the agent side, stay an agent? Like, where are you guys at together?
Yeah, so that's something that we've talked about plenty of times. And at the end of the day, if we can just keep her as a listing agent, that's where she's happy. I mean,
Awesome.
She likes working with buyers too, but you guys both know, like, if you can get a listing, that essentially is a little bit better than working with a buyer, because then you can get 3 or 4 listings, let everybody else show your property. You guys get it. So that's kind of where we're at with that. She still works with buyers, but once we get to that point where her time is very limited, then we're just going to focus on listings and then eventually have somebody to help her with the buyers.
Yeah.
Nice.
What do you guys, when you guys are meeting with sellers, do you both go to the property and kind of pitch your separate solutions that you can bring?
I usually go on my own. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So I will go back to being a paramedic. Man, that was the best experience I've ever got, because I go into houses that I've never been to. I'm meeting people that I never talked to before. They're different nationalities, different age. Maybe they're dealing with some crazy stuff. And you get them to open up. You can talk to them about anything. And when I carried that skill over to mortgage, I mean, it applied pretty good. But when I carried it over to a seller's appointment, I always went with the same mindset. Like, I'm going on a call. Like, you get a 911 call that says, oh, you know, you're expecting one thing, but when you show up, it's something completely different. So I always I'm taking the expectations like, oh, this is going to go well. Like, oh, they're going to sign. No, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to get into, but I'm going to find out who this person is first before I talk about numbers. So that's why I go into these appointments by myself, because I know, I mean, it's a different game. It's a different person you're talking to. My wife is great with sellers, but these sellers aren't your typical seller.
No.
They're like they're like a coyote. You know, you're trying to tame a coyote, you know, versus a nice, cute puppy.
Bro. That's freaking hilarious, dude.
I think it's just interesting. I would have guessed that you guys would have both gone together, and, you know, Chan could explain, hey, this is what we could do. If your goal is to get the most money, here's like what we'd recommend, what we maybe list it for, this, that, and the other. And then your solution would be a little more tailored, which is like, hey, if money's not your number one thing and it's more convenience, here's a couple of solutions we could provide.
That's a good idea, and I think we might start trying that. I think the main challenge is just that we have 2 kids, and then it's one. If I'm with them, she's out in the field, vice versa. But we are probably going to start trying that soon, because her mom's going to come hang out with us for a few weeks, and we can probably try that. I think that's a great idea.
It's just a consultative approach, and I think it matches your communication style, which is not pressuring. It's just very much like, here's a couple different things we could do. What makes sense?
Yeah, no, that's something that I've heard. Like, you know, you can have like the good cop, bad cop, or the guy, the girl. You know, I can be like, oh, no, thanks. Talk to the agent. I'm out. You know? Just leave in a rented Lamborghini. Like, yeah, you know, gotta present something. I don't know, but
bro, I love it. Dude, to kind of bring this full circle, I want to rewind to at the very beginning, and correct me if I'm wrong. You were kind of saying your mindset getting started in real estate investing, you knew it was a long play, right? You knew it was going to be a delayed gratification game. I feel like a lot of newer people, though, I feel like that's very uncommon. I feel like a lot of people getting into real estate investing, they're like the freshmen coming in for their first year of school and wanting to graduate right away, right? Yeah. And that's just really not the name of the game. For the person on the other side of, you know, listening, watching, who may be in that position where they're eager to jump in, but may have an unrealistic expectation on when things are going to come back, what would be the advice you share with them?
I always go back to that story where I think it's in the book. Napoleon Hill. Which book is it? The guy that was looking for gold. He stopped short, 3 feet of the gold.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I know the graphic. I don't know.
I know the
book.
graphic
Yeah.
too.
So
yeah.
like to give you the short version of that, this guy was excavating dirt, found gold. The gold ran out and he gave up. He sold all of his equipment, but the guy that bought his equipment knew if you just purchased like or hired somebody to survey the ground, you would have realized that the fault lines broke off. So that gold should have continued there, but it moved 3 feet this way. So he went back with that knowledge and excavated the dirt and found the gold. So it's like when you give up too soon, you're giving up. You're literally 3 feet away from that first deal or that next deal. Because sometimes people get lucky on their first deal and it takes months, maybe even a year to get that next deal. So I just remind myself every day when I wake up that today's a new day. Yesterday's gone. I can't complain about the 6 months that I've been doing this and I haven't found a deal. Got to find out what's working, what's not, and just stick to the game plan. That's all you got to do. Stick to the game plan, and I guarantee you'll find the results you're looking for.
Freaking mic drop, bro.
I'm all for it.
I am too, dude.
We tell our team too, like, this business comes in waves, and, we had an experience this week. It was a little slower. Last week was a little slower. We worked all day yesterday, nothing crazy. And then at like 6 o'clock, hot lead came in. Dude, Marissa on our team signed it like 3 hours ago. Dang. And in this business, you can't go into anything with a kind of an expectation. You just got to run the play. And if you run the play enough times, it works.
Yeah. 100%.
I think that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, that's it, dude. And in reality, like there's a few times where I was wanting to why don't I just focus on mortgage? Like, this is not for me. I'm not cut out for this. And that's that limiting belief. And it's like you have to continuously work on your mind more than anything. Because if you start telling yourself that it's not going to work out, you're right. It's not going to work out. And then you're going to quit. But if you tell yourself, hey, this is going to work out. I manifest things all the time. And I learned this from Jason too. Like there's a seller out there that hasn't met me yet and they're going to like sell me their property or, whatever it is. I'm telling myself that if I give up now, that person that was waiting for me, I literally just like stood them up, So you just got to tell yourself things like that to kind of keep you motivated. Because I'm a big believer in manifestation and the higher being, I believe in God. So I'm always praying and I'm grateful. I'm like, God, thank you so much for this deal that I'm going to get in these few days. I don't even know who I'm talking about, but I'm just thanking. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be where I'm at. Thank you for this knowledge that you've blessed me with and the connections I've made. Because I know this is going to help me serve someone else. So I'm always just like practicing gratitude. So for those that are like just struggling to, get that next deal, just be grateful for what you have. Be grateful that you even started. Be grateful that there's resources like this podcast and other things like that you can get your hands on and learn more. Because if you're just going to be ungrateful or throw yourself a pity party, then you probably don't deserve to be successful on this side of the game,
Damn, somebody needed to hear that.
Somebody did, bro.
I needed to hear that. I think you're exactly right. When you're going through the hard times, that's the perfect time to be grateful for all the things that are going easy for you.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, bro? Social media, is that the best way? Instagram, Facebook, where are you at?
Instagram is probably my best channel. It's Edgar Franco, but it's EDGR Franco, Franco, because the real Edgar Franco out there, he won't reply to my DMs. I'm like, bro, how much do you want from my full name? Like, I want it. But that's how you can find me.
Dude, I freaking love it, man. And I know, dude, we're going to have you come back on here in a little while. We've got a deal. We're JVing right now.
Yeah.
Dude, already kind of a very interesting and complicated situation we've been working through. So I think that'll be a good one to come in and have a deal review on once we get that across the finish line.
We have two going with Edgar, actually, because I've got one on my own going with Edgar that he's working with a seller, and I brought a buyer to the table.
Oh, yes.
So we've got two different cool, interesting stories
is.
to catch up on.
Let's go.
And a potential third on Thursday.
A potential third that we're walking on Thursday.
Let's go. There it is.
That's it.
Yeah, man. No, thank you guys again for having me. Just can't thank you guys enough for your time and being a guest on your podcast. I'm a longtime fan, and I'm looking forward to this episode.
That's it.
Appreciate you, bro.
Thanks, Edgar.